Hey folks, Carl here and welcome to episode 3 of this guest build for emodels.co.uk of ICM's Ford Model T Ambulance Early Edition.
emodels.co.uk. Make something awesome.
Okay folks, so we are moving on to episode 3. Last episode, of course, we finished the engine block. We went into an awful lot of detail building this. So this episode, we are not going to be going into that much detail. So we are starting on the chassis. We've already taken off that first part, so that is here. So the plan with this episode is we are going to work through this build, okay, off camera. So I'm not going to bore you with all the tedious cutting things off the sprue and gluing them together. All I'm going to be showing you, okay, on this build is anything that is not clear in the instructions, anything that's awkward to do, anything that's difficult, anything that doesn't seem to quite fit right. You know, it's not clear in the instructions where it's supposed to be going. I will stop the build, turn on the camera, and I'll show you what I'm talking about. So I am looking for the next part. So I shall talk to you when we have a problem. Speak to you in a moment. Okay folks, so as you can see, we are moving on with the build. We managed to get this first part done here, which is part 6, this bit. That's all nice and glued together. We started gluing together some of these parts here. You can see they're all sitting. They should be dry by now, actually. And we've come to our first little awkward part, which is gluing this bit to this bit. So if you look closely on here, there's some little nubs just inside there, okay, that this just rests on. It doesn't fit, doesn't slot into anything, it just literally rests on there like so. Now it's awkward to hold and put it into place, so the way I'm going to do this is I'm going to get a little pot or something, okay, and we're going to just rest this part on top, okay, make sure it's nice and steady. We're then going to put this on where it should be, which is like so, okay, and we're going to make sure it's in the right position of where exactly we want it, okay, because it is quite flimsy, this front part of this chassis. I'm just going to try and hold it in place to make sure it's fitting and looking right, which it is. Okay, it's because it's top heavy, it's rocking that way slightly. So we're going to get some glue. Okay, make sure you are gluing it the right way around, which I'm sure we are. I'm just going to put a very small dab of glue on this side, another small dab on this side, okay, give that a few moments to dry. We're going to hold on to the chassis on top of that pot, and we're just going to very gently push this into place, make sure it stays nice and straight and level and of how it should be. So if we don't concentrate and get this part right, when we come to build the rest of the chassis up here and put the engine covers on, there's a good chance they're not going to fit correctly. So take your time here, make sure you get it right, because it's going to be worthwhile in the long run. See, I just had to push that down because it wasn't seating quite right. So I'm going to get a pair of tweezers. It's easier to push things around with a pair of tweezers than your fingers, otherwise you'll end up with fingerprints everywhere. Push it down, make sure it's in place, nice and straight, and then put it to one side and leave it be. Because if you're happy with it, leave it alone, let it dry, because if you keep on messing with it, you're going to end up messing it up. So these parts should all be dry now. They should be ready to clean up. I may have already done some cleanup on them. Okay, so you can see all these seams and stuff on these edges here. All need to be cleaned up There's a good chance you're not going to see this once it's all built up, but I'm still going to clean it up. Yeah, you see the nub is actually still on that part there. So we are going to clean them up, even though you're not going to see them very clearly. Okay, so that's this part here. And then over on the other side, we start putting the engine block in, which we're not going to do straight away, because obviously we want to paint this first as much as possible. And we'll get all these parts in and fixed to the model. We may need to attach the engine block in with a bit of PVA or something like that that's easy to get off and clean up. We'll take a look at that when we get to it. Okay, so same again. Anything else that I find that's awkward or difficult, we'll start recording again and show you exactly what we're talking about. So, talk to you in a moment. Okay folks, so we have been moving on and we have completed this first part. So here we go, and as you can see we have had to mount the engine. Unfortunately, the reason being this part here, this rear axle, actually goes into the engine. In order to mount all this properly and all these spars and all the rest of that stuff, the engine had to go into the model. So unfortunate, but we have connected up the wiring there on the front of the engine. If you look at this side, so that's looking not too bad. As you can see, one of those wires there is broken. That's done deliberately. That's the reason why the bonnet is going to be opened up, as though they are trying to find out what's broken. So that is that first stage all done. Next we are going to be starting work on the main chassis. We've already built this chair up here, which is there. So that chair is already built up for the inside of that. So we are going to continue and move on. There was nothing difficult with everything that's gone on here, by the way, just so you know. A little bit awkward, but, well, not awkward, fiddly, not awkward. Getting these wires connected up and trying to get them to stay in the right place was a little bit fiddly, but they went in okay. Not looking too bad. So, like I say, we are now moving on to the main cabin. So, same as usual. Any problems, any issues, I will start recording and I'll show you what's going on. So, talk to you in a moment. Okay folks, so you're back and it's showing us here in this part of the instructions to add this part B36 right here onto the engine block, on that part in there. If I get a pair of tweezers, right inside there. Now I was going to put it on, but then I thought I'd have a look through the instructions and see what's connecting to that. And if we go a little bit further on to here, okay, it's showing that the steering wheel comes through the main chassis, okay, and it connects on the flat part of this piece on the underside here. So we're not going to put this piece on until we come to put that steering wheel in. And we're going to glue that flat part to the steering wheel, and then we're going to place this part onto that part that's inside there. Otherwise, we may find we're going to have problems getting it stuck down. So I'm leaving that part alone for now. And we're now just going to move on and start with the cabin. So I shall talk to you all in a moment. Okay folks, so as you can see, we are moving on with the chassis. We've got quite a few pieces out here, and what we are doing now is we are adding wood effects to all the panels. So you can see on this one, on the floor of the cabin, we've added some lines in there to give that wood looking effect. We've also done it to the inside of this panel. You can see that we don't need to do the bottom section because we're not going to see that. We've also done that, and we've just done this piece. You can see these two panels are done and this third one isn't. So I'm going to show you how to get this done and what I'm doing to get it to that state. Once we've done that, we've also got the outsides to do on all of these panels. So I'll get this lot ready and I'll show you what we're doing. Okay folks, so what we're doing, we are taking something like this, which is one of the Tamiya blades from their saw, and what we're doing is we're just very simply running it across quite a lot and making lots and lots of score marks, and it is simple as that. So if I show you on this panel here, we will bring the camera down so hopefully you can see what it is that we are doing. And effectively all we're doing is we're taking the blade and you don't need to be gentle, you don't need to be neat, and we're just running it across this plastic like so. Plenty of score marks in there. You don't need to keep straight lines, don't need to keep straight lines. The rougher the better. So keep on doing it. So you've got plenty of little lines in there. You can go both ways like so, some deeper than others. Keep on scoring. Like so. Keep on doing it. It's going to look rough to start with. Okay. Turn it around, go the other way. Make sure you get plenty of marks in there so it looks a bit like wood. Now, as you can see, there's lots of little bits of plastic that are hanging on there. We're going to get rid of those in a moment. A bit more down this bottom bit here. I think that will do us. So you can see on there now that looks quite rough. So what we're doing is getting something like this, a little sponge on the end. These are our makeup brushes, children's makeup brushes from the local supermarket. It's like £1 for a box full. We're just getting our extra thin. We're just going to soak the tip of this sponge in the extra thin just to get some on there. And then we are literally just going to brush this down. Did I get any on there? No, I didn't. There we go. Now we've got some. And we're literally just going to brush this over the top. Careful you don't get your fingers in it. And all we're doing was we're smoothing off all that plastic. Like so. And then it's just a matter of leave it be to dry. Because if you touch this now, it's going to turn into a right state. So we'll get that back on there. We'll give this a few minutes to dry and we'll take a look at that third panel that we've just done, and it's going to turn out something like this. Difficult to see because obviously the extra thin's made it shiny. So we'll give that 5 minutes to dry and we'll be back.
emodels.co.uk. Make something awesome.
Okay folks, so this is now dry and we can see that wood effect. Now all we're going to need to do is we're going to need to finish this panel, and we've got to do the outsides of all these panels and this one. I'm going to do the outside of that panel, and then we can get this all put together. Now I'm thinking that I may very well build this up, this part separate, so I can spray the inside and we can show off as much of this wood effect as possible. So I'll probably make it so the top can be taken off and removed, so you can take a peek on the inside. We shall see how difficult it is, but so far there's been nothing overtly difficult. So I'm going to get on off camera, get all this wood effect done, get it all put together, and we'll see how we're getting on. So talk to you shortly. Okay folks, so as you can see, we have the back section of this ambulance completed. As you know, we were not going to attach this back box because we were going to paint it separately and do a whole heap of detail on the inside. However, with putting this wood effect on, these side panels here did warp slightly. Okay, so we've had to attach it onto the front and the back panels, okay, just to stop it from warping too much. Thankfully, once now we've got it all glued in place, we put the lid on. It actually pulls it all back into shape, so not too bad. And as you can see, once the lid is on, you're not going to see too much detail in the back of there anyway. We are still going to paint on the inside of there, okay, but like I say, you're not going to see too much of it once it's together. So as you can see, we are starting to look like the box art. If we put this onto here, you can see we are starting to take shape. The wheels aren't glued in place, they're just placed on there at the moment, okay, just to have a look to see what it is looking like. So we are starting to look like the box art, which is always a nice stage in the build to get to. So this video has been going on for around about 25 minutes, so I'm going to end this video here. We still have plenty to do in the next episode. We've got the cab to build, we've got the rest of the engine block to do, and then of course there's all the small detail to add to the rest of the ambulance. So I'm going to say thank you to eModels. Thank you for all of you out there watching. As always, be good, be safe, and of course keep making models, and don't forget emodels.co.uk for all your modelling needs. We shall see you in the next episode. Ta-ta.